So we are going to talk about the market in Loudoun County for February 2023, and I'm going to talk through the key statistics that I look at so that I can be better informed on what's going on in our local market, but also use that information to help buyers and sellers with their strategies based on their goals. So the first one I look at, obviously, is new listings, because quite frankly, we need new listings. We all know that. Unfortunately, new listings have trended down from just a month ago, meaning January, 8.4%. And year over year, last year, February to February, we're down almost 40%. So we're not seeing an increase yet. I think that the key here is the spring market is probably not going to be like spring markets traditionally were pre-COVID. The next stat I look at is homes sold. This is a good indicator of continued buyer demand despite the increasing interest rates. And we have some good news here. Homes sold are up almost 43%. However, year over year, they're still trending downward, almost 24%. The next stat I look at is sold price. And this gives me an indication of just overall how price appreciation is impacting the market. So generally speaking, year over year, February to February, it's remained pretty stable at $630,000 is this year's median sold price. And last year's it was $635,000. So we're pretty close, $635,000. However, in January, we had a little bit of a bump and we were at $658,000. So we went up quite a bit. And I think that was really dictated by the lack of inventory and a resurgence of buyers kind of getting used to the mortgage rates and, still having that demand or need to buy a home. Average sold price to original list price ratio is also a stat I look at to understand how to think about our pricing strategy, both on the buy side as well as the list side. This stat tells you if the price point that the home sold at is equal to, lower than, or above the original list price. In February, we were at 103%, and in January, we were at 96.8%. So we have come up from January, and that says to me that sellers were probably more strategic in their pricing, meaning they priced at a point where they drew more buyer demand, and then those buyers, because of the competition, bid the price point up. This stat also helps me on the buy and the sell side when we're talking about goals and we're talking about strategies to guide the seller who's listing their home into the proper price point to start, and then also to guide the buyer in terms of setting expectations as to what the home will actually sell for. Days on market is another good stat to look at, and that just lets us know how fast homes sell, like duh, right? But it also is a gauge on how much time a buyer may have to really think through their purchase decision. Remember, a couple years ago, it was mayhem, right? The wild, wild west, where you had maybe, if you were lucky, a day to make a decision or put an offer together. And so the more days on market, the sellers may not be happy about that, but quite frankly, it's a more normal market if you're looking at a 30-day days on market average versus 2 days, 5 days, 15 days, which was last year's stat last February, whereas this February we were at 33 days. So a little bit more reasonable in terms of time it takes for a home to sell. Last but not least, months of supply, which is an indicator of the type of market we're in. And it's no surprise to any of us, right, that we're in a seller's market. We've been in a seller's market for, I don't know, we're going on almost 4 years now, I think, with when COVID started. And it hasn't changed. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, just given all the market dynamics that are going on. General rule of thumb, if months of inventory is less than 6 months, you're in a seller's market. If it's between 6 and 7 months, you're in a neutral market. And if it's over 7 months, you're in a buyer's market. For February, months of supply was 0.8, so less than a month of supply, versus a year ago where we had 1.4 months of supply. Still low, but a little bit better than 0.8. And then in January, we had a months of supply of actually 1 month. We're still in a seller's market. and it does create a little bit of a challenge for buyers. That's why it's worth taking the time and thinking through your offer strategy. There are a lot of levers you can pull, believe it or not, that may not just be price point and contingency. Make sure that you talk to a local agent who understands the local market so that you can talk about those different levers to pull in addition to price point and contingencies.